Anyway, it's so good to be with you this morning to share the word on Mother's Day. For better or for worse, it will not be a Mother's Day sermon. Okay, so we all have to pay attention and stay dialed in. When I was asked to preach, I was given a blank canvas. So I got excited and I thought, oh yay, I can preach on one of my favorite topics, if I can even call it that. If you've hung around my family, or even come over for a meal, you'll know it's so strange holding this mic. It feels so strange. You'll know that my husband, one of his favorite topics is politics. He will talk you under the table, argue you under the table with politics, international, local politics. Me, I like to talk God. I like to talk specifically the Holy Spirit. No, that does not mean I'm holier than him, holier than thou. It's just one of those things. I'm a child of the charismatic movement. Tongue talking, Jericho marches, remember those? Dorita, do you remember those? And we do that kind of thing. And also, it so happens that in 2 weeks' time, it will be Pentecost Sunday. I won't be preaching in 2 weeks, so I thought I'll take the opportunity today to speak to us about the topic of the Holy Spirit. Now, we all know there is so much that I can say about the Holy Spirit, but I'm going to have to restrain myself to just one passage, and that's going to be John 14, and even there, it's going to be just a few verses. Most things are already praying, so I'm just going to start off by just giving us a bit of context here. John 14 is preceded by 13, as we know, and in chapter 13, Jesus is having a serious conversation with his disciples. It's one of his last times with them, so he's giving them instructions and talking to them about a few things. And particularly, he's been telling them that for some time now that he's going to go away. And that time is now coming closer and closer. He also says to them, he doesn't mention who, but he says to them, one of them, his close friend sitting there with him, is going to betray him. He then also singles out Peter, and he says, Peter, you are going to deny me 3 times before this following night is over. This is seriously concerning stuff. And I think you can just imagine how the disciples felt. They were in an emotional tailspin, which is why when the following chapter kicks off, chapter 14, Jesus continues with the words, do not let your hearts be troubled. I don't know about you, but with the thing that he said to them, there was a lot for them to be troubled about. I mean, these guys started off their journey with Jesus in a bit of a whirlwind of a ride. He abruptly called them in, and they left their families, they left their jobs, fishing, whatever that they were doing, and they started following this guy, who then performs all these wonderful and crazy miracles. Not only that, he messes with their heads, with paradigms and beliefs of what they're thinking, what they've known, and what he's talking about that's going to happen in the future. And they haven't really understood also who this guy says he is. They haven't understood the manner of man, as I think Mark tells us. But over time they realize that, okay, and Peter even gives the word of revelation that this is Yeshua HaMashiach, the Son of God, who has come to save Israel, to save the world from oppression. But at this point, at this dinner that they're having with Jesus, they're still a little bit confused about him. Because he's talking about a new kingdom, and they're thinking this is exciting. But then he's talking about going away. So they're asking themselves, what does all of this mean? If Jesus is going away, what's supposed to happen to them afterwards? What are they supposed to do about the past 3 years, the time that they've spent with him? Surely they must have felt so lost. And I would venture to say that they wouldn't be the only ones. I think that we can identify with these guys in so many ways. We ourselves have had some powerful encounters with Jesus when we got saved. We have found the fire of prophetic words, we found fervor and zeal for him, ready to take on the world with him. But if we're honest, sometimes, long after that salvation, we sometimes ask ourselves, were those experiences even real? Did we just make this whole thing up? Troubles are plenty in our lives, and there's no denying it. We don't know are we coming, are we going? Did Jesus actually just come to save us? Is that all he did? Came to save us? and then he left the scene? Was he just answering a sinner's prayer, saving us from hell, leaving us to live our normal lives? And again, if we're honest, normal would mean compromised lives. It would mean lives that are fearful, lives that are quite indistinct from everyone else. We're just as fearful as our unsaved family and friends. We don't know what's going to happen with the economy, with the politics of our country, with the future of the world. And we feel like we're just really holding on, honestly. And we're hoping, just secretly hoping, that Jesus meant it. Also still in chapter 14, somewhere where he said he's going away to prepare a place. We're hoping he meant it. He's going to prepare a place for us and then he'll come back and soup us and help us escape the earth. We ask ourselves, what gives? Kanti, what is it with this salvation? What are we supposed to do if the one who saved us is not here with us? Well, let's read our passage for today to find out. We're going to read chapter 14, verses 15 to 21 in the Lalie. If you love me, keep my commands, and I will ask the Father, and he will give you another advocate to help you and be with you forever, the Spirit of truth. The world cannot accept him, because it neither sees him nor knows him. But you know him, for he lives with you and will be in you. I will not leave you as orphans. I will come to you. Before long, the world will not see me anymore, but you will see me. Because I live, you also will live. On that day, you will realize that I am in my Father, and you are in me, and I am in you. Whoever has my commands and keeps them is the one who loves me. The one who loves me will be loved by my Father, and I too will love them and show myself to them. I just love this passage. And to me, I don't know about you, but to me it really just sounds like good news after the bad news of Jesus saying to the disciples that he's going away. It says to me that Jesus knows how they were feeling, how we are feeling. In this passage, Jesus is saying to them, guys, it's not the end of the world. You will not be left alone. You will not be left holding the fort, just hoping that I'm coming back to just save us all out of here. No, not a chance. Jesus says to them, I am sending someone else who's coming to be with you. I'm going to ask my Father, and he's going to send you the Holy Spirit. And through the Holy Spirit, I and the Father will be with you. You will not be left to fend for yourselves and find your own way in this big, bad world. Though I am going in the current physical form I'm in, I and the Father will still come and be with you. You will not be rejected. You will not be abandoned. You are not orphans. You are not orphans, he said. And I think this is a word for some of us this morning, especially on a day like this. Because days like Mother's Day or even Father's Day can be a mix of emotions. For some of us, we can't wait for the service to end. We're going to go off and do the lunches and get excited around family tables. But for others, Mother's Day can be a day of emotions that are heavy. You can feel abandoned, vulnerable, sad, angry. And I would say, the word of the Lord to you this morning is that you are not an orphan. Regardless of the circumstances of your earthly parents, Jesus and the Holy Spirit, the Father and the Holy Spirit, both of them are with you. Which leads me to my first main point, just one of two this morning. The Holy Spirit is our forever companion. You see, the Holy Spirit is the fulfillment of Jesus' promise that we just made to his disciples and to us. He's promising that he, the Holy Spirit, will be God with us forever. The Holy Spirit is our forever companion who's here to stay. He's not a momentary experience. He's not rocking up in our lives like a guest at Christmas. He's not a mere substitute. That's important to note. He's just filling in for the main act. God and the Holy Spirit is sending the very best of who He is. And I think we can pick up that Jesus was in pains to explain this to the disciples. That they're not going to have to fend for themselves and just wing life. And that they have in them, they have with them God, the Holy Spirit. Jesus isn't offering these guys anything else better. And you can just tell the way that He speaks so emphatic and excited about the Holy Spirit. We must understand that Jesus was speaking to a group of people that was at its lowest. They were messed up emotionally, wondering what's going to happen to them. But He doesn't offer them something else. He doesn't say to them, okay guys, I'm going away, but I'll send you the low to numbers. I will make sure that you defeat Rome. I'll give you a trouble-free future. No. He doesn't give them any of those things. He's sending them the Holy Spirit because that is exactly what they needed. And to Jesus, the Holy Spirit is so important because later on, after He's been resurrected and come back to the disciples, just before He leaves again in Acts 1, we're told that they're gathered together and Jesus commands the disciples. He says to them, I'm sending you a mission, but do not go yet. Wait until you receive the Spirit. You cannot go on the mission that Jesus is sending you on until you receive the Spirit. If that was important for the first century believer, it is just as important for us today. And if you think about it, it's made all the more real. Because these guys, they were with Jesus at some point, but they were so fearful when He told them that one of them would betray Him and that they would deny Him. They were so fearful, even though Jesus was in the room with them. Later on, the Holy Spirit comes upon them, and they're ready to die for Jesus. That says something about the power of the Holy Spirit in them, in us. Because if He could change them so radically, what does that say about us? And here's the thing, you see, Jesus' death and resurrection were for our salvation. We don't downplay that. And the Holy Spirit Himself was part of that regenerative work. He was there. But as beautiful and unsurpassed as salvation was and is, it was just the beginning. It was not the end of the story. It's just us starting out the adventure. Because if you think about it, if salvation was all that mattered, then we kind of wouldn't really be here. There would be no need for us to be doing this. But I think in this text, Jesus begs to differ. He speaks of the Holy Spirit as one who's been sent as an advocate, meaning one who comes alongside, comforter, counselor, encourager, helper. I get so excited when I read these names of the Spirit, and I wish there was a bit more time for us to get into each one of them in detail. But for this morning, it will suffice simply to point out that by this He means that the Holy Spirit is offered to us as a help that empowers. That He encourages us by reminding us that in Christ, God loves each one of us and knows us by name. He comforts us when life is messing with us. He feels a pain and is working healing in us. He's healing us. He's healing us. The Holy Spirit reminds us that God knows about our societal, our relational, our financial, our political, our work struggles. He knows about every single one of those. And they don't intimidate Him. He's not indifferent to them. He's here to walk with us. Jesus promised the disciples the Holy Spirit who would be with them forever. He has been promised us also as our companion into eternity. My second point this morning is that the Holy Spirit leads us into truth. So He's with us forever and He's performing a specific function, one of many. But this morning we're going to talk about Him leading us into truth. Jesus identifies Him in verse 17 of our text as the Spirit of truth. Something which He repeats also in John 16:13. I'm not going to read it, but it'll go up on the screen. Now, I've always found this curious, every time I read this, that Jesus would speak of the Holy Spirit as the Spirit of truth. Out of all the attributes or characteristics of God he could have picked this. Of course, that doesn't mean that he's excluding others. I mean, I'm sure we know that we could all use more love, more grace, more wisdom from God. But I would like to believe that Jesus makes emphasis on truth because he wants us to pick up something about the Holy Spirit. That the primary job of the Spirit of God is to reveal truth about Jesus himself. For there is no greater truth in all the universe that precedes the truth that Jesus is the Son of God and he has come to save the world. That Jesus alone, somewhere else in chapter 14 it says, he's the way, the truth, and the life. If there is one unwavering truth that we must believe, that Jesus is God's only plan for salvation. If we don't have this truth, we have no other truth. If we don't have this truth, then we cannot believe anything else. Having said that, please don't hear what I'm not saying, and I think it's important to point this out in a church such as ours. I don't proclaim to know what Jesus does in the hearts of people and how exactly he saves them. Okay? It may be in totally unexpected ways. It is not necessarily people walking an aisle and saying the sinner's prayer somewhere. Jesus is saving people in the deepest, darkest parts of the world in ways we would never understand, we would never comprehend. And I think we need to know that. What I do know is that Jesus is the ultimate truth. I should also say that as much as we can agree with that, as much as we can agree that truth is never changing, that it is always true, that it is unaffected by the passing of time or movement of culture, truth also should not be confused with a narrow modern intellectualism. And for our context, I think it would be Western intellectualism. Truth is not the purview of a few experts. It is the privilege of every single one of the children of God, those who we are. That, of course, should, I hope, say to us that as Christians, just because we know the truth, that we should not be arrogant, insufferable know-it-alls. We know that this is what Christians are accused of. Instead, we should humbly recognize the Spirit of truth as a gift. He's not our exclusive possession. He's a gift. And we should then be praying fervently for the people who we know don't know this truth. We should be burdened when the world speaks of truth as just some subjective concept, that is determined by the emotions of the day or what cancel culture is saying on Twitter that morning. We need to be burdened by that, not be judging in a harsh, negative way. The world says things to us like, Jesus is one of the many ways. Why don't you just pick another? The world might say to you in your circumstances, you're not getting the promotion you deserve at work. Why don't you just step on some colleagues on your way to the top? It might say things like, is your spouse irritating you? Leave them. Or, is your budget not keeping up with the kumalos? Take that credit card. Take the loan. That's the wisdom of the world. Because according to the world, we answer only to our desires in the moment, not to timeless truths. But as believers, we know that we are limited humans. And we only speak in part and know in part. Interestingly, scholars tell us that the word truth, which is the Greek aletheia, has a sense of meaning, and some of that definition is going to go up on the screen: waking up, not being hidden, unadulterated reality, veracity, not being deceived, overcoming oblivion and stupor. What you see is what you get. This is powerful, at least for me. Because it tells me that in my circumstances, when life is clapping me and I'm tempted And the world wants to say to me, hear them all to reality. The world wants to keep me in a daze. The Holy Spirit comes on the opposite side and He wakes us up to reality. He enables us to truly see. He gives us an unadulterated reality. One scholar says this: the Holy Spirit is a ramrod down your backbone to make you stand for the truth, to make you take the right side, even though it's the minority side. The Comforter gives you strength to stand up in face of something that is vile and evil. The Holy Spirit leads us into unvarnished truth. And He does this in many different ways. It may be through the pages of Scripture, through creation, just looking outside, through others of His children. You draw yourself to talk to them, even through speaking to us directly. Yes, I said it. Speaking to us directly. It might make some of you uncomfortable, but I really do believe that. And if it makes you uncomfortable, I would say, don't talk to me. Talk to the advocate. And that's the Holy Spirit, by the way. Talk to my lawyer. But seriously, this is what Jesus is offering, that the Holy Spirit will speak to you. So I would say to you, incline your ears to hear, and you might be surprised. Just because you've experienced error and access supposedly in the name of the Holy Spirit, that doesn't mean that you should reject Him. Child of God, let's not cheat on ourselves and think, we can do this life thing on our own until Jesus returns. We know what happens when we try to do that. I don't know if you've noticed, but this world of ours is getting wickeder and wickeder, stranger and stranger every day. There's opportunity to be wild and not in a good way. And so, like I said at the beginning, when I was asked to preach, and I thought to myself, if ever there was a time that we as believers needed the assurance of God that He's with us and that He's leading us into truth, that time is now. Which is why we need the Holy Spirit so much. That's why I'm so passionate about the Holy Spirit. I'm always trying to peel back at the layers and read more and find out what is it that God is saying in and through the Holy Spirit to me, to us. Because we need Him all this time. He's saying to us, wake up from this stupor. Let the veil be removed from your eyes. Don't minimize your need for the Holy Spirit. You might think to yourself, I'm not in that happy clappy church. We don't fall over or wave ribbons around. I'm not making any judgment on those things. But what I will say is, whether or not you do those things, you need the Holy Spirit. He's not an optional extra. We need Him today more than ever. And this is my prayer throughout this week, that God would touch me, to touch your lives, your hearts, to have it impressed upon you that yes, the Holy Spirit comes to show us, to reveal to us the beauty of salvation. But He also comes to speak to us, to bring good into our lives, to bring us closer to Jesus, to walk us through those difficult circumstances to which we may never have answers. And for us to be able in His power to say, that's okay. I don't have the answers, I don't have the solutions, but I have the Holy Spirit. He gave Him to the disciples then, and they suffered a great deal, as we all know if we look into church history. But yet their lives were victorious, because through the Holy Spirit they became closer to Jesus. Now I just want to end this morning the words of Jesus Himself in the book of Revelation, where He says, He who has ears, let him hear what the Spirit is saying.